It's June the 11th, at 9 o'clock in the Public Works Building. We're here for our council meeting. Tammy, can you call, oh, I'm sorry. We're going to go ahead and do the invocation followed by the pledge of allegiance.
Father, thank you for this day and thank you for all your blessings. Lord, we thank you for this great country we live in this city we live in. Lord, this is a great city. It's a great place to live. God, we just ask that you be with us, Lord, that you would guide us in our decisions and everything we do be according to your will, Lord. We pray that everything we do and say would glorify you. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Try that again. Tammy, you want to take the roll, please?
Mayor Wolf,
Here.
Mr. Smith, Ms. Hamilton. Here. Mr. Adams.
Here.
Mr. Linderman.
Here.
We got consent agenda. We have 4 of them on here: April the 9th, April 23rd, May the 22nd, May the 28th. Your council review them and approve them. I have one change on the April 23rd. You had Steve Cox down there. I believe it's Gary Cox that brought that up.
We've already corrected.
Thank you. Anything else for council?
I don't have any.
You approve? Yea and nay?
Yes.
Good. So we'll move to the regular agenda, and first we'll go ahead and start with employee of the month.
Tommy's got this.
Tommy got it?
Good morning, council. Good morning, everyone. This morning I've got 2 presentations. One is for April and then one for May. So I'm going to start off with the April one, and employee of the month, Sam Bushieri.
Thank you.
Known Sam a long time. We go way back. He told me, absolutely don't say anything about me and him used to be pirates. but I am. We used to do a little pirate thing for the kids over in Port St. Joe years ago.
Yep.
But this is one of the employees, if you ever see him, he's going to be smiling.
Always.
This guy loves his job, he loves what he does, and anything that I ask Sam to do, he's more than happy to do it. So all the citizens know here in Mexico Beach we don't have a lot of employees, so everybody does a little more than just what their job is. And Sam is a good example of that. And it just happens I've got Ruben, he's going to be my May employee of the month. And these 2 guys work together. Ruben, you know, is on the sanitation truck, and when he gets off that truck, he's hunting something to do. Never have to find him and tell him. He's always doing something. Guy can weld. He can do just about anything. So this is 2 great examples of employees of the month, because these guys do 110% for the city of Mexico Beach. Sam, first of all, here's your day off. You can take that on Saturday.
Nice. What about Sunday?
Sunday, either day works.
Either day works for you.
Whichever day works for us. Also, I've got you a plaque here for Employee of the Month. Greatly earned, I can tell you that right now.
Thank you very much. I do appreciate the opportunity to work for the city of Mexico Beach. Excellent. Excellent place.
Good deal.
Absolutely.
And the next one here is Ruben, and I know y'all probably said, he's been here before, and he has. Ruben continues to just be an outstanding employee. I mean, like I said, this guy does, he's one of the guys, you ever know that somebody can just do everything? This is him. I mean, this guy can do anything you ask him to do. Ruben, have a pleasure. You can take this on the offset Saturday, Sam does.
Yes.
A day off, and another plaque to go on your wall. And I appreciate everything you do.
Last time I got one of these, I run out of here. Most of y'all remember it because I had things to do. I'm going to take a little bit more of your time today. I want to thank everybody in here, the city council, the mayor, the women across the street, who make this possible. The citizens especially, because if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be here. especially the citizens that sit cold drinks out by the trash can when we come. Somebody froze us Gatorades last night and sat about on the garbage can this morning, and we appreciate it very much. It means more than this plaque does. But I can't ask for two greater bosses, Tommy and Chris. I just hope they're here as long as I am. So I don't have to have any other bosses, but they're great bosses, and this feels more like a family to me. I worked 27 years for the Department of Corrections in the state of Florida. I was more worried about getting a knife in my back there from the people than I was the inmates. Here, I ain't got to worry about that. They support us, they look after us, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Good job. Yes.
Hold up your plaque. He's like, please don't make me do this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all. I appreciate you.
Well deserved.
Thank you.
Let's go and move on to the next thing on the agenda, which is ordinance 837, and then we have a letter here.
Good morning. This item is an amendment to the Land Development Code regarding accessory uses and structures. And this went first to the local planning agency back in December, and there was discussion about some potential changes, and so it went back again in April, and now is here before you for the first reading. This will amend section 2.02.02 of the Land Development Code, which includes all of the zoning categories in a table form, by eliminating part 6 of each of those categories, which addresses accessory uses, primarily because those items listed under accessory uses are more about structures. And so in order for clarity and easily interpretation and implementation, we're going to separate very clearly a use regulation from a structural regulation. So by deleting this from the table, we're going to, which talks about pole barns and garages and greenhouses, which are not actually a use, those are structures. We're going to segregate these into 2 different categories after all of the tables that are included in 2.02.02, and provide more clarity in 2.0400, which is accessory structures, and then 2.0500, which is accessory uses. So essentially, a structure is something that will most likely get a building permit. Sometimes there are exemptions if they're a small shed or some kind of small, under a certain square footage, I believe they're exempt from a building permit. From a use, which is not really a structure, but something you do on the property. So with the amendments, there were some discussion with the, I call them the planning board, that's what my normal term is. I know they're a P&Z here. But the accessory structures will then talk about, we'll define them better under 2.04. We talked about general standards and requirements, which is under 2.04.01, which is also amending some of that language. There was discussion regarding the size of an accessory structure on a property. There is a requirement to have a principal structure on the property now with this amendment prior to having an accessory structure. So you'd have to have, for example, a house before you could have a shed, or a house before you could have a detached garage or a pole barn. And then we also amended Part E of the structural requirement. The current language says that right now the maximum square footage for an accessory structure is 75% of the primary structure, and the planning, the P&Z wanted to make that a 50% limitation. So in essence, that would prohibit someone from having a large accessory structure with maybe a smaller house or something similar. We also decided to include a 5-foot setback of an accessory structure from the property line in that section. And there was some discussion about the height limitation of these accessory structures, which is currently 12 feet. We are now amending that to go to a stay at 12 feet other than a pole barn, which would be able to go to 16 feet, knowing that you need that height to store a boat or some sort of larger vehicle on your property. So with that, the accessory use language didn't change much, just for some clarity. We updated the definition, and but primarily that's similar, and that's something like you might have some sort of use, like a temporary use that you might want to have for a festival event, or you might want to have a food truck as a temporary use that's not a permanent structure on a property. That would be considered an accessory use and the like for that part of the language. So with that, I would answer any questions that you might have.
Let's go ahead and start with the public first, see if they have any you can handle us. Got any public comments on there? Anybody? Okay, we're good on the public, good and close the public. We have anything here at the table?
I'm glad it went up to 16 foot because of boat shells, because these boats can't get up under 12. That's foul.
I got one question. So on this change to 16 foot, so if I'm a neighbor and I don't want that large structure, is there some recourse for the neighbor, or are there some limitations for where these pole barns can be for boats?
No, there wouldn't be any recourse for the property owner adjacent unless there was a request to go higher than the 16 feet
Okay.
by variance or some sort
All right,
of
thanks.
avenue.
But the structure's at 12 foot. If it's a pole barn, it could go to 16.
That's correct.
That's it. There's
That's
nothing
right.
other than a pole barn.
Correct. It just says pole barns. I'll double check that, but
Anything else from the table?
I was gonna mention, it says the establishing setback requirement, a minimum of 5 feet. Is that from, it says the property line, but is that all the way around?
yes, yes, it would only be applicable to the side and rear because the accessory structure wouldn't be in the front yard.
And it says in there, not in the front yard, rear and side.
Yes, let me, probably need to get my glasses on. Yeah, I'm pretty sure somewhere in here it does not allow it to be in the front. Tim, do you see that? Because I need to get my glasses. So on 2.04.01 Part B, there is language added at the end of the sentence that says, that adds to the area where they're not allowed, so accessory structures shall not be located, and then at the end of the sentence, in the front yard of the principal structure or within required parking areas.
Thank you. Anything else from the table?
No, if you will, check on G at the last sentence.
G, where it says standards?
2.04-01G.
Okay.
It does say something about structures used as detached garage or boathouse in these districts may increase the accessory structure maximum height to 16. So it has the detached garage and the boathouse in that sentence.
Is that part
Look
one
at
of G?
That would be part 1. Just look a little bit. The first line clearly says 12, so the last sentence says, it looks like it's talking about a detached garage also. Was that confused?
So part G, standards, and then it says all accessory structures shall comply with following standards. Is that where we're at?
Yes,
Okay, and then, so are you on part 3 or part 1?
I'm on part 1,
Okay.
the last sentence.
Structures used as a detached garage or boathouse in the RLD, RG, HDR, and TD districts may increase the accessory structure maximum height to, yes, so you're correct. So it could be a garage or a pole barn, and they can go up to 16 feet.
Oh. Just want to clear that.
Yes, thank you.
I think what we don't want to end up with is mother-in-law house out there. Probably, right? Is that something we can do based
So
on this wording?
this isn't really addressing the use of the structure, but the bulk of the structure. I think that's a different discussion if we want to talk about accessory dwelling units.
Well, I think that, I don't think the council or citizens are, I think on behalf of Mexico Beach, I don't think it'd be a good thing to have somebody build a structure or somebody's gonna live in.
Okay. So
Anybody?
that,
Good.
no, so that would be something that we would need to look at because I don't have my book with me, but I think the comprehensive plan speaks to accessory dwelling units also. So I need to check that.
Okay. Lisa, I know you have a question, but
No, it's a
we need to keep some order.
It's a
Go ahead and ask.
clarification on what Jason said.
Okay. Pardon me?
It's a clarification on what Jason said. I couldn't understand exactly what he said.
Okay.
So may I ask that?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Be careful.
Jason, you were asking for that clarification on, at the very end of that paragraph that you were just talking about, 16 feet for a pole barn and a garage. I'm sorry, I didn't understand that.
It just says structures used as a detached garage or boathouse in these districts may increase the accessory structure to a maximum height of 16. Where originally she said it was just gonna be the pole barn 16. It looks to me, this reads that we can do the detached garage at 16 also.
And then earlier, the discussion was to keep them at 12. So what was the answer?
Well, that's what we gotta
It's,
clear up.
it's 16 in those districts that we mentioned. Residential density, general, residential general, high density residential, and town home district are limited to the primary structure height for that zoning, and those in RLD, RG, HDR, and TD may go up to 16 feet max.
Okay, so residential is limited to 12.
16 feet max.
You put a pole barn in at 16 feet
But I'm concerned about
structure.
garages.
and a structure. And that's what we're trying to clarify right now, Laura.
Yes, right. So, I mean, it's at your discretion. You're able to amend the language here today. But that was the conversation we had at the P&Z meeting, because they wanted to allow 16 feet for the potential boat.
Well, I understand why they did it, and I agree with it. I don't want somebody living in a garage, detached garage.
Right.
So how do we word that?
So, first of all, of course, the density factors in. So if they have one home on a lot and the density is met at that point, they wouldn't be allowed the second dwelling unit. But again, I need to look at the comprehensive plan because I believe in the housing element, it speaks to accessory dwelling units.
So you
So
think
if
we're
you
covered.
want me to look at that before the next hearing, I can get you an
Maybe, why
answer.
couldn't you just add the phrase except accessory dwelling units in that terminology?
So that would
say
be-
structures used as detached garage or boathouse and then in parentheses, except any accessory dwelling unit.
So I think I submit that would go under accessory uses because we're talking about the use of the structure rather than the structure itself, under 2.05.00. So, if there's some language you want me to introduce for that, I can bring that to you before the next meeting.
I think we do. I think, is that agreed at the table? Is that something somebody's concerned about? Yes.
Okay.
So, okay.
The other thing I'm not clear on is if this is even an issue. We've had pole barns that turned into the siding, and so it turned into something else. Does a detached garage have siding? What's the definition of pole barn, detached garage, boathouse? Is that clear enough?
It's the use, it's really the use of it,
Yeah, okay.
and possibly how the building department permits it.
Right. So are we concerned if a pole barn turns into a enclosed structure? Does that change anything that makes it different that we care about?
Well, if we're allowing a garage is enclosed.
Right.
Yeah, and I think people should be allowed to enclose. That, I kind of wanted, myself, would want the detached garage falling under the 16 also, because some people would prefer to build a garage and put their boat in instead of being limited to just a pole barn.
Right.
Those just cross. The first sentence and the last sentence, there's a little bit of bleeding between the 12 and the 16. I just want to get that cleared up.
And if I'm clear on what you said, Laura, this will be allowed in high-density residential and townhome districts, the 16 foot?
Mm-hmm.
Is that something to you?
The intent was to allow it in the zoning districts that allow for single-family homes.
Anything else at the table?
And so if you have that only 5-foot setback, that neighbor behind them could be staring at a 16-foot wall.
Correct.
Or 12 foot as it currently is.
And is that, it's not to keep going down the road, but as far as the setbacks on that, is that where we're at now? I should know that from my LDR, but, because normally our side setbacks are 7.5 and our rears are 10.
So I believe there's no certainty right now as to what that measurement is. So we were introducing a number to create.
Okay.
Yep, to create a standard.
But what is this in here under 2.0202, and then there's setbacks, and it says, like side and rear 7.5 and 10 feet for the rear.
That's the primary structure
Okay,
setback.
that's not referring to the accessory.
It's not clear,
Oh, okay.
so this language proposed would make that certain.
Any other questions at the table? If not, we'll have to, first reading. Have a motion there at first reading?
I'll make a motion for the first reading.
Second.
Tammy?
Ordinance 837, an ordinance of the City of Mexico Beach, Florida, amending the Land Development Code to modify section 2.02.02, 2.04.00, and 2.05.00 to amend language pertaining to accessory structures and accessory uses, providing for a codification, providing for repealer, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Good, we move on to consideration of purchase of ground penetrating radar equipment. Chris?
Mayor and Council, right now we're requesting to purchase a ground penetrating radar unit. This was something that we were going to originally put in next year's budget, but Mr. Glenn came to me this past week and requested that we go ahead and try to get this approved by the City Council because we're being kind of scrutinized by DEP for our valve exercising program. And a lot of the valves in the city, after Hurricane Michael occurred, the valves were either covered up by dirt or worse yet, it was covered up by asphalt whenever the paving project took place. We noticed, or me personally, I noticed this firsthand when we met with DOT on Highway 98 to discuss their paving project, and we couldn't locate any of the valves at the street ends where the side streets join with Highway 98. So it's just something that we need in order to be able to do our job, to try to locate these valves, dig them up, and then be able to exercise them so that we can show DEP that we're working towards accomplishing this goal. And anybody who's ever worked with Mr. Glenn knows that he don't spend money, so I was kind of shocked when he came and wanted to talk to me about putting this on the agenda. And it kind of emphasizes the importance of it, to me especially. If Mr. Glenn's wanting to do this now, then it's definitely something that we should consider. What I put in your packet as far as the ground penetrating radar unit, that comes off the Florida Sheriff's Association purchasing contract, so we wouldn't have to go out for bids or anything. It's the high-end model. It's a 3 antenna. It will go deeper, locate things more accurately, and allow us to do our job better.
For the citizen's sake costs,
It's $25,000. That would be split 50-50 between the water and the sewer departments.
any public comment on it? Thank you, close the public, come to the table.
I was just wondering about, it looks like it's a pretty technical piece of equipment. Will there be some special training of our staff, and how many people will be trained so that, people could cross-train and do that job?
That's a good question, that's, Chris, you can answer that.
Yeah, training will be included with the purchase,
Okay.
and we hopefully we'll train everybody in the utility department on its use. Obviously, some will use it more than others, but we want everybody to have a basic understanding of how it operates. And this unit, I don't know how well everybody noticed on the information that I included, but this unit is able to be upgraded later with a GPS system to where we could actually map out our utilities. And I know that's a big problem that we have right now with some of our utilities in town being as old as they are. We don't know what's located where, and so this would in the future allow us to upgrade and map it out ourselves.
Obviously, Glenn's group, they, sewer and water produce revenues for the city. I mean, so to spend the money when it becomes a compliance issue, for me, there's enough we're doing in the city that we have to comply with, that we should take advantage of this and get this unit so we can be in compliance. We don't need another problem.
Chris, will it require a budget amendment?
Yes.
Chris, so to be clear, say it comes out of the water and sewer departments, is it coming out of their current budget, or is this gonna come out of our reserves?
It'll come out of their current budget.
Okay. And so is there something we're gonna lose over this?
No, our water and sewer funds are doing very well right now.
Okay. All right, thanks.
Just like I said, if we could, this will really help us to identify a lot of stuff underground. This system here has got good resolution. Again, Chris said something I had just noticed, that it'll help with the mapping. A lot of places where lines have been replaced, the old line is still in the ground. And this will help us to identify, and it helps us in our day-to-day locates too. A lot of this stuff we have to physically go dig it up, and just, we should be able to use this. We should expedite what we're doing, save us a little bit on labor and time.
Thank you, Glenn. Anything else at the table? I ask for a motion to approve.
Make a motion, we consider to purchase the ground radar equipment to replace Dale Ray. And the amendment budget
Just a point.
for 25, you have to say amount. Say amount.
25,107.
Yeah, amount 25,107. Yes, sir. Thank you.
I'll second it.
Can I take the roll, please?
Okay. Mayor Wolf,
Yes.
Mr. Adams,
Yes.
Mr. Linderman,
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Thank you, Council.
Good, move on next on the agenda, which is our financial report. Chris?
Mayor and Council, you have the financial report in front of you. Revenues are looking good. The departments are all looking good except for the Parks and Rec department, which I have highlighted in red, just like last month. That's from the expenditure of the money for the MBARA Artificial Reef Program. We have not received reimbursement from the state at this time for that, so once we get that in and make the appropriate budget amendment and journal entries, then that will be corrected. Other than that large expenditure for the MBARA, that department is doing fine. But if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Just on the, just taking a snapshot of what our budget is, the 5.7. Year-to-date being at 5.2, and the average month going out about 250. It looks like we're gonna be about 450,000 under budget, is that correct? Or is there something coming up in the next 3 months that's gonna sway that?
No.
So we'll be under budget.
Yes,
Unless something happens.
unless something happens, correct.
And this is our busy year too, with the sanitation and
Yeah.
Chris, as I take that down to the expenditures, the same thing happens, and there's about $750,000 if you average that out. Is that, you saying our expenditures are gonna be the same, under?
It should be. We've been very good about, not spending unless we absolutely have to.
Okay.
The development services line, Chris,
Yes,
was that Mr. Manning's old position?
that's correct.
So what did you spend 4% of that on?
Professional services, engineering.
Okay.
If you look at sewer, water, and sanitation run about 80% pretty consistent. Sewer's down about 60%. Is there an issue with collections, or
No?
we're good?
Oh, yeah, we'll be fine there. And you can compare the revenue, year-to-date revenue compared to the year-to-date expenditures. So,
Any other questions at the table? Good, thank you. We go ahead and move on to citizens' comments. And we're going to get started. Any citizen comments?
Lorraine Lindsay, Florida Avenue, and I would like to pass around some information about, pass this out to the rest of the group as well, so you can all see what we're talking about. I have some concerns about where we are in terms of our allocation for wastewater and what we have approved and what we are doing next. Do we need more copies of that? First of all, this top part explains what is in, oh, would you like some? There you go. Concurrency is in the LDC. It's kind of a funny concept to wrap your head around, but basically what concurrency means is that when we approve somebody and give them a building permit, we're kind of making a promise to them that we will have the services that we advertise, that being water, sewer, garbage collection, and that we have those services available to them so that it ties up that amount of services when we issue that building permit, okay? And so we didn't have, and the LDC requires that we have an annual concurrency report. Now, some citizens had requested the concurrency report for 2021 and 2022, and they were told that those don't exist. So you were given this concurrency report for 2023, and it shows just where we are in terms of this process, okay? We have an allocation of 473,000 gallons per day. And this report, if you look at it, will show you what we have already, what we're using as active customers and what we have committed ourselves to in terms of these new developments, the annexation of Farmdale, Sweetwater, a number of things, the St. Joe Company in Phase 2, and some other townhouses and condos. So if you look at the bottom of that table, it says available allowable capacity, 6,033 gallons per day. And if you take that number, we normally, if you look in the column there, we assign for each of these dwelling units a rate of 250 gallons per day, per dwelling unit. And you take 6,033 gallons per day and
I'm okay.
Yeah.
divide it by 250, and you come up with 24. 24 is the number of available homes that we have allocated at this point in time. So I don't know how many permits we've issued since January 1st. I know there are 2 houses under construction in my neighborhood I can see. And I think there are plenty more going on around town. The other thing that I'm going to point out to you is that the last item, number 17, says vacant lots with meters. But it doesn't include vacant lots without meters. And we have a commitment to those people as well. And again, where I live, I can look when I'm sitting on my front porch and I can see 10 lots that are vacant with no meters. Never been meters there, okay? So these numbers are kind of frightening to me because I am wondering when we get, and you know, we don't have any control over how quickly these things get built, but we definitely have made some commitments to a lot of folks. And you know, I would like to request that the council would make this report available as part of our consumer confidence reports that comes out somewhere January to July each year, because I think citizens need to be aware of where we are in this process, especially as we look forward to what happens next in terms of development within the city. We have made a promise to the people that have lots here that we're going to provide them with water and sewer. And you know, the fact that we only have a very small 6,033 gallons per day, that's kind of scary to me. And you know, having been in this business for a very long time, it takes a really long time to build a new treatment plant, if that's what we're going to do. And what do we know about the allocation? We're not the only community here that's growing. You know, when Tyndall comes online, there's going to be a lot of folks, they can't afford to live in Mexico Beach. They're going to be living in Callaway with Parker. And so, are we going to be able to buy more? Have we done anything about approaching them to find that out? Because we definitely have made some commitments to a lot of folks. And we're going to have to honor those people, and we need to know what that's going to cost us. So I would like for the city council to try and make this report a part of our consumer confidence reports so that our citizens can see where we are and so that we can be ready and prepare for the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's make a brief comment on that. There's been several conversations about sewer and water. I can tell you that I could probably answer several of your questions as far as, are we talking to anybody, are we putting together a plan, are we trying to do something? Yes, we are, but where we're at, and we're trying to find out what we have to do to get more if we need it, and evaluate what we're really using. Right now, we're at 30%, 35%. That's what we're using. What we've allocated and bills, your number could be somewhat accurate or close. So there's going to be some more information on this, I think, real soon, probably within the next 30 days. There's some other reports that are available. Any other citizen comments?
I'm Frank Wall. I live over here on St. Charles Street. The bridge on 15th Street, I know it's a big topic here a lot, but come across it a couple times. There's been a lot of close calls. I've seen a woman in a baby carriage coming across it, a kid screaming. It's the close call I had, a guy at a dump truck's holding a cell phone right in front of his face while he's driving, car on the other side. I was wondering if there's any way you could put the same thing you have on the crosswalk on each side of the bridge, a push button. It doesn't fix it, but it gives a little more doing something than just sitting back and waiting for when the day the bridge is going to be replaced or a pedestrian bridge is coming.
I mean, we can put flashing lights up on either side of the bridge, you know, to have people slow down.
I mean, if it's a stop button for people that are coming up there or something, you know, they push it and gives you 90 seconds, whatever. It takes me about a minute once you enter that envelope where the guardrail is to clear the other end of the bridge. And a lot of times if you're looking both ways, you don't see nothing before you get all the way across. They're coming from both sides right on you.
We might can get the sheriff's department, but ask the lieutenant about putting something there. It is bad, and it's getting this time of year. And I'm hoping Chris might say something about a bridge today, but I talked about it to him last night. I'm with you, I don't know what we can do, but it needs to be something.
Well, and with the railroad for 40 years, you can't fix everything, but you can safeguard it somewhat. You got to make some attempt to do something. You hear it in here a lot. When's the pedestrian bridge coming? But it may be years, but at least you do all you can to try to. I don't want to see a memorial sign there one day that shows 3 kids were struck and killed on the bridge, you know.
Yeah, there's a plan to fix it, so you know, there's probably something we can do.
The pedestrian bridge is coming. It's currently being engineered right now. We received money from the state to put the pedestrian bridge there. They're just doing the engineering work required to put it up. So it should be in the near future. But we can look at doing some lights.
But how far out?
Yes. I mean,
I'll have to talk to Elizabeth to see exactly where they're at.
We're talking a year probably.
It's far out enough that we need to do something maybe before then.
Last I talked to Elizabeth, they were doing the geotechnical studies to make sure that it would support the weight, you know, where we were going to put it. And then there's some concern about the power pole that's on the south side of the bridge on the west side, because you got a power pole with the guy wires there. And so we're going to have to contact Duke Energy and have them, you know, try to relocate that.
But
They can't be operated on the solar panel with daylight hours. I don't think it's a big deal at night.
no, we're talking about for the bridge. I share Mr. Wall's concern. It's a long time since we had this. There was actually an accident on this bridge a month or 2 ago where we had a car passing another car on that bridge with pedestrians on it. And I can tell you, because I live next to near Frank, very few people go 25 miles an hour at that when we reduce the speed. People come through there really fast. So I agree. We need to look at now, is there some way to help mitigate this in the meantime? Because it's a very narrow area. A lot of people who are vacationing here use that walkway. And the bridge is taking a lot longer to get in than I had hoped. So I agree, we need to come up with a plan soon, some way to help mitigate it.
Okay, so the table all agrees that we need to come up with a plan for something.
Yep. We'll bring you something to the next meeting.
yeah, then I know we're about to move off Fifth Street, right? You said you're about to gather that information. Do you think we could move the speed trap over to the bridge? I mean, at least, you know, if you're moving too fast, the lights, you know, come on quick, and that will slow people down. And while we're working on something else.
That's a start.
Yeah, we can
Thank you.
come up with something quick. Thank you. Anything else, citizens' comments? Then move to the table.
I just wanted to go back to Ms. Lindsay's conversation. Oh, I'm
You
sorry.
got it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'd like to make a comment.
Yeah.
Michelle Miller, Oleander. I noticed that we didn't have an agenda with a packet for the citizens to review these before the meeting. I did not see it online. If I missed it, I'm sorry, but I did not see it. Is this something that is going to be done in the future, or are we going to be getting those packets?
We normally have a packet online. I thought it was online.
It was not this time, so.
Thank you.
Just one question, thank you.
Yeah. Any other comments? Then move to the table.
Okay, just going back to Ms. Lindsay's concern about allocation of the sewer and the water issues. On Saturday, I attended a annual county meeting in Port St. Joe, which, you know, that's kind of like our sister city. They're growing the way we're growing. They are actually going to initiate a moratorium on Windmark regarding the building of, you know, the hundreds of homes that they have built there. They've told them, this is how many you've built. You can build X number and then you're going to stop. So moratorium is a scary word, but it's something that it may be part of our vocabulary before long. Because if this is as serious as it seems on allocation, we need to start thinking about these hundreds and hundreds of new dwellings that are coming into our community, and just know that our sister city is already starting to initiate moratoriums.
Okay. Then move to the table. Any mayor comments? The only thing I had is, I talked to Chris this week about flags on the beach. And it's my understanding that Bay County is moving to a sign electrical system. Lights. So I'm thinking that that's probably what we want to wait till we can find out what they're doing, maybe piggyback on theirs and do the same thing.
But to be clear, my understanding is the reason we don't currently have flags is, like Panama City Beach, we don't have the undercurrents that they have. So it might be helpful to have them, but it's not the same conditions that they have.
Because of Cape Sandfly.
Yes.
All right. I believe it's still something we
Yeah, I agree with you, but it's
piggyback on them and do the same thing.
I agree.
Might not be as drastic when it's a red flag there and a yellow flag here or something.
Yeah, then I think what the purple's for the marine life. Is that correct?
I have no idea.
The purple's for the.
Yeah.
All right, any council comments?
Is anything in general? I have concerns about some of the houses that are here in Mexico Beach that for several years, there's been really no repair to them. I've taken some pictures. I did share the pictures with Tim Sloan, our attorney. I know I've talked to code enforcement about it. They've done their share of sending out letters. I know our city administrator has approached the family. But yet, you know, these houses sit here for years and years, and there may be more than just the two that I have seen taken pictures of. You know, the grasses are real high, they've gotten letters about it, but like nothing gets done. Like we're kicking the can on these situations, so I thought I would turn it to Tim to see how does Parker handle the situations, because our system is not working.
Well, you have in your code provisions relative to unfit and unsafe structures. In fact, section 151.079 declares unsafe buildings illegal and a public nuisance. There's provision in 151.080 to inspect them. And then there's a process in 151.081 for units unfit for human habitation. And there's a procedure for condemnation and then an inspection process. Most cities ultimately run this through the magistrate system. Once the determination on the staff level has been made that it's either unfit or unsafe, and then the magistrate typically would enter an order that would detail what is required to be done by the property owner. And failing that, then the order would include a provision that allows the city to abate the nuisance, whether that be by repair and/or demolition. And then that's the process most everybody goes through. You have your provisions outlined in your code, so you have the structure, it's just implementing the process.
Chris, is that something that unfit or unsafe, is that an area that we've reached on some of these that
There's a couple that-
enforcement needs to move forward on?
There's a couple that are probably that way, and this is something I spoke to our previous attorney about, and unfortunately it didn't go anywhere beyond that. But now that we have a new attorney who, you know, has experience in this area, then, yeah, we'll move forward on these properties.
But if these people had these houses, they have a permit to redo the house or to fix the house.
But typically your permits, of course, have an expiration date or should have an expiration date.
They get a new
And
permit.
if they fail to repair it during that period of time, then the city can take further action. So, you have the process, you have the outline in your code. It's just a part of implementing it so that, people understand that you're serious. I can tell you that Parker, probably did, somewhere around 40, 50 unfit and unsafe structures, not all of which ended up in demolition, but many of them did. And of course, for the council's clarification, in the event that you have to spend government money to abate the nuisance, once you do it correctly, then you can go through a process to have that added to your non-ad valorem assessments, if you want to pursue it that way, or you would have a lien on the property, again, doing it a proper way, have a lien on the property, and unless it's homestead, after a 3 months period of time, then you can foreclose that lien. Again, cities are reluctant to do that, but at some point, if people are not going to cooperate and really bring their structures to a safe standard, you really got to do something. So those recovery mechanisms are out there for money that you actually have to spend to abate that nuisance. Other code enforcement monies that you spend for typical code cases don't carry that same ability, but unfit and unsafe demolition stuff does.
Chris, I'd like to, I would hope that council would ask for a list of those homes, addresses from code enforcement that we can view and track.
All right.
Is that possible?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, because we had gotten up to date on this stuff several years ago with the magistrate, put everything in place, and we're cleaning up a lot of stuff, so this must be a little few that slipped through another round of things, but we were pretty adamantly on it for a while there.
There's a couple still lingering out there from the hurricane. I'm aware of.
I'd like to see them.
One's over next to you.
Sticks and jokes.
Okay, we'll get a
Next
list,
week.
and we'll take that up with our attorney. Okay, anything else on the council side?
I had one more thing.
Yeah.
I think the last meeting, I asked you, Chris, about road repairs. See, we had a lot of, when Point Van came in, there were a lot of breaks in the water system. So there's lots of roads that have, major issues. I'm thinking particularly of Third and Oleander. That's a big stretch there that needs to be repaired. You said you had given the list to Tommy. So where are we with that as far as taking an action and having those roads repaired?
After the last meeting, Tommy notified the asphalt company, and they are mobilizing right now, working us into their schedule, but they'll be here to take care of Hatley Drive and all the cuts that were made, over the last few years in the roads. So all that has been worked on. We're just waiting on the asphalt company to show up.
So the asphalt company supplies the asphalt, but our people have to do the work? How does that?
No, the asphalt
They're
company
doing it
comes
all?
in, does it
Oh,
all.
okay. At whose expense? our expense? I mean, was some of this related to Point Band when they were doing their work and then, you know, water lines got broke and things like that? Like, are we gonna experience the whole burden of repairing that?
Well, there was some that were the responsibility of the Point Broadband company. But instead of charging them money and going back and forth with that, we just asked them to do some bores for us on Colorado, and they did 7 bores for us. The city came out on the better end of the deal there as far as the expenses, because a lot of the expenses that were being blamed on the fiber optic company was either because the property, you know, the water lines weren't located correctly, or we didn't know that the water lines were even there, like we discussed earlier. They were old lines that we had no idea that they were there. And so there was just a myriad of things going on. But like I said, we traded out whatever they were responsible for the bores on Colorado, so we could resolve the old water line issue over there. And so right now, the Hatley and the cuts that are remaining is something that we're gonna pay for.
And that should get started soon.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, like I said, they were notified 2 weeks ago, and we're just waiting on them to show up.
Okay.
I got a couple of questions on the beach mats. What's the status of that?
Well, they're in engineering. They've been in engineering. I met with Kimberly a couple of days ago just to discuss the beach walkovers, because originally we were going to, you know, try to run the Moby mats out as far as possible on the beach. With the new beach berm that's coming in due to Bay County's beach renourishment project, I'm not sure that's going to be possible. So I've asked the engineering company to pause on the engineering yet until we can figure out what's going to need to happen to make the Moby mats work. If the Moby mats can't be run to the Gulf side of the berm, then we don't really need the engineering. So there's no reason to spending the money for the engineering.
Is there a permit yet for that, for DEP?
On
For that
the-
map?
No, that's what they were doing the engineering for. But for the people who don't know about the beach renourishment project, is there's going to be one solid sand berm going from one side of the town to the other. And so, based on my conversations with Kimberly, you know, you're just not going to be able to walk out on the beach in the future without going across the beach berm. Not sure how this is going to work out, you know, in regards to handicap access. The city is going to have to probably build some wooden ramps and dune crossovers. But again, this is a work in progress right now. Based on what Kimberly has said, any place where there's a beach access point right now, the sand berm will be a more gradual slope, and they're not going to plant sea oats in those locations. But again, it's not going to be the easiest thing to traverse if, you know, someone is handicapped.
So we have to wait till all that's done before the mats are even considered? Is that what we're saying?
We could go out and put them out, you know, and right now, but we just can't.
Take them up, though, if they...
We have to take them up. We also won't be able to take them as far down onto the beach as what we'd originally planned on. We can't go beyond the toe of the dune line.
Okay, so the completion of the CDC's project, or Mexico Beach project, is gonna be when?
This November. It's whenever they're going to start. They got to wait till after turtle season to start the beach renourishment project. They're estimating it's going to take 3 months to complete.
Okay, so is it possible that the engineering group can possibly tell us after that's done, what date we put the mats on?
Yes. And like I said, if we can't go to the Gulf side of it, then it'll be a simple process. We won't have to go through all the engineering and the surveying and everything else we've done right now.
So you're saying the berm is not gonna be open like the berm that we have now?
Correct. And there'll be a berm in places now where there's not a berm.
Yeah.
So that would give the appearance more like St. Joe Beach, how they've done?
Yes.
So will they be removing all the current walkways to do that?
I know they're going to remove the city's sand fencing. Now, there's some private walkways out there that, well, and I should say that they're building their berm on the Gulf side of our existing berm, so they may not have to remove anything. You're just going to have a dune walkover that dead ends into Bay County's larger sand berm that they're gonna construct. There may be some that, you know, will have to be removed, but I haven't spoken to Kimberly about that.
So bottom line is, we will end up having to extend our walkways or modify them to get to the other side. And private walkways will have to be modified or extended. And that was one of the grants that I recommended we look at, the Coastal Partnership Initiative, for that purpose of helping to extend those. The other thing is, and I know Chris has been working this, is trying to get the CDC to help with that extension cost.
Is that, have we looked at anything as far as the cost of that, what it's gonna be?
No. No, and
And so there's a possibility that we would have to fund that.
yes,
Yes.
there's a possibility, and then there, you know, we'd have to determine where it would be best to, you know, if we are gonna build wooden beach, you know, dune walkovers, you know, we may just spread them out along the beach initially and then, you know, fill in the gaps at a later date, depending on the cost. There's a lot of things
Why
that,
would that not be combined with the change?
with Bay County, what they're doing,
Yeah.
funding, it's a funding issue.
I mean, we're not wanting to extend them, but obviously we want the beach done, but if they have to be extended,
Like,
it's a cost issue there.
like I said, they've discussed it obviously because they're not planning the sea oats where the beach walkovers are now, and they're just gonna have it more gradual slope on the dune there. But, you know, who knows how long that sand will stay in the one location due to the wind, and so it's
Tim, you're on that committee, I think that needs to be brought up and resolved before it gets done.
Yeah, I agree. I know that the funding they have for the beach renourishment doesn't include this. And so and we're meeting next week, so I'll bring it up again at the discussion. And like I said, Chris has been talking with the CDC on this, and Chris and I have talked about this quite a bit. So I probably take a look at what we have and what the cost would be if we can figure that out. Might be a good idea, so we know what to ask for. We'll need that also if we're gonna use a grant. And kind of looking ahead, we need to include in our next year's budget the 50/50 that are part of these kinds of grants if we want to pursue that. So I think there's a lot more information still to come that needs to be talked about.
yeah, and there's things that, you know, maybe the city could do some of the work when it comes to the beach renourishment project. Like I mentioned, you know, how they've got money budgeted to go out and pull up all the old sand fencing. Well, the city could do that, and whatever money that they, you know, save from that, they could maybe redirect towards the beach walkover.
Well, I think now's the time to start having those conversations, so.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
We're in it.
Yeah, I do.
Go ahead, Rumble.
The kayak dock, what's the status of that?
Same thing, still in engineering.
So, can you tell me if we're gonna meet the July suspense?
No, we're gonna have to ask for an extension.
Okay. The pier, any news on that?
Now, the pier, we're still 2 years away from even being completed with the permitting process.
Yeah, so, where are we at right now on the pier? Where are we at? on
Army
this?
Corps of Engineers
Okay,
just started their permitting process last month.
so DEP has approved it?
DEP has approved it and give us their
So
permits.
is the Corps, and then is it FWC next for permitting?
It's the Army Corps of Engineers. FWC, I think, is gonna be able to do theirs in conjunction with the Corps.
Okay,
I'd have to check on that
all right, okay.
When's the next call with FEMA on that?
tomorrow.
Tomorrow? You doing anything tomorrow, Tim?
No,
You're welcome to sit in on that.
okay,
Get updated. So is anybody at the council.
I'll send you the time.
okay. And then, I got one other thing. Miss Lindsay, I really appreciate your coming forward with this information. I'll just tell you that, I personally have talked to Lisa Logan. We looked at this, she gave me some great things to look at. And Chris and Glenn and I have been looking at this in detail. And as the mayor said, I think you can expect a briefing on our status and the way ahead shortly. So thank you for coming with that.
I appreciate that. The big question is how much is this gonna cost us?
And
That's
And we'll certainly provide that as part of the answer.
That's gonna be critical.
Okay.
Thank you. That's it.
Just kind of read back, this is back to kind of the Moby Mats, but mainly the ADA. There were some things on social media. I didn't get out there and walk down each boardwalk, but some of the where you're getting on the boardwalks, getting washed out for people. Can we have the guys look at those points to at least allow people, if they're in wheelchairs or have any needs, to try to get them at least on the boardwalk, down to the boardwalk. I know we can't do anything with the Moby Mats until we're.
Yeah, we're gonna have the guys, do that. They've already began, if you look on the paperwork I passed out before the meeting of the Public Works, what they've been working on. Mr. Smith and I went out and looked at one of the beach walkovers on Sunday. So there are some work that needs to be done, just weed eating, opening them up, keeping them wide so that people can more easily access the beach using those walkovers. So it is something that we're addressing.
All right, before we get off of council comments, any other?
Me.
Okay.
Ms. Hamilton, you get that? I want to thank snapper season opened up first week. We had a lot of help, and last weekend me and Chris and my mate over here, if he was with me in his department, they did an outstanding job. In the sheriff's department come out here one time. We parked, me and Chris left early, about 10 o'clock, and I noticed 80 something that we parked. It was full, and we need to work on getting some more from St. Joe County to park there, so it gets full in a hurry. I want to thank Top Notch Rental. He furnished a golf cart for us, a 6-seater, so Chris could haul people back and forth. Tina and Jared Coleman, they furnished it. We had a good turnout. It was a lot of fish caught. Had a good time. Had a good time. Thank you.
All right, before we get off of council comments, I just want to go over, do you have this vehicle report?
I do.
I'll bring that up.
Sure can.
One of the citizens, Mr. Cox, brought up on April 23rd, Maryland and 7th Street speed. Everybody come on up, Sheriff. Yeah.
All right, Bay County came and put a stationary sign in that monitors speed and vehicle traffic and everything else. And from the time of 4:30 through 5:23, they gave us a snapshot of the cars and how much is going on. So number of data point entries for that time frame was 2,689 vehicles. The average daily volume was 112 vehicles. Posted speed is 20, average speed is 16.3. But on that, you have 1.7% above the posted speed plus 10. So if you look at your little gray dots at the top and everything, you'll see the ones that maxed up into the 40 plus and everything else. Let's see, 8.2% at or above posted speed. 23% at or below posted speed, and 66.7 all at or above below posted speed. You also got to factor into this is people see something that measures radar and speed and stuff like that, they let it max them out and have fun with it and see how fast they go and if their speedometer's right and everything else. So, but this is average, this is for almost a month. The guy from the traffic division and everything said that they generally don't mess with any speed bumps or anything else or do it unless they get like 3,000 a day in an area. It'd be up to the city to put in anything if they wanted to do that, but this is the snapshot of it for 23, 24, 5 days.
How do you assess that? Is this a norm? Is this above average?
Above average as far as what?
Do we have a problem that we need to address?
It's pretty much below average. You know, you've got a lot of golf cart traffic, which is gonna be, you know, you can see the little gray dots in here in the bottom side of it and everything, 10 to 20. And then you've got the moderate ones and everything. But as far as, you know, their determination on traffic in Bay County and in different areas and stuff, it's well below average.
All right. I just want, Mr. Gary Cox, you're here, do you have any questions on this? I mean, you're ready to go. Is he here? No. I thought he was behind the podium there, I'm sorry. Okay, good deal. Good. We'll get this on to him. All I'm gonna sell this is that. All right. Staff comments, Mr.
First thing I want to say is there was a comment made earlier, Tammy checked the website and the information packet is on the website for today's meeting, so that's available.
There you go.
Secondly thing, I passed out before the meeting the monthly reports for the Public Works and the Utility Department. I don't want to go through everything. We've already exceeded the hour that I thought this meeting would last, so I just want to point out under the Utility Department on the rereads, the 379 rereads there, that's the purpose of us buying those water meters at the last meeting. So hopefully those numbers will begin to come down. The individual from Empire Pipe, who is the local salesperson handling our account, he came by yesterday and got us to sign off on some of the paperwork in order to be able to make that order. So we should be getting those meters in, hopefully in the near future, and we'll begin installing them right away as a course of our daily business. So we will see a big impact there. As far as some of the things I wanted to bring up is there's two events coming up here in the near future. We've got the blood drive next week, Wednesday, June 19th from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. One Blood has a goal of only 16 people donating. So, we hit that the last time, and hopefully we can continue their goal of collecting blood here in Mexico Beach. The weekend after that, June the 21st and 22nd, is the Golly Whopper. So we're going to have a lot of people here in town for that fishing tournament. Just want to let everybody know to be mindful of the traffic, and if you plan on going out of the boat ramp here that day, it's probably going to be busy. So just be aware of that. I've been doing a lot of talking with the audit companies. The fiscal year 22 audit is 99.9% complete. It'll be completed this week and reviewed by one of the partners at James Moore this week, and then they will be sending us the draft next week. I personally don't plan on taking a lot of time to review the draft. At this point, the audit, it is what it is. And so with the state fiscal year ending on June the 30th, my primary goal is to get that draft of the audit in, give a copy to all the elected officials, tell James Moore to move forward with finalizing it and completing our annual financial report. Both those documents have to be submitted with the state by June the 30th, before the fiscal year ends. So that's my plan. If anybody on the council wants to talk to me about that, privately, then we can discuss it in the office later. With the completion of the fiscal year 22 audit, then I've also been in conversations with Carter Riggs Ingram and James Moore about immediately rolling over into the audit of the fiscal year 23. There'll be some changes or some delay because once the fiscal year 22 audit is complete, there may be some account balances or some journal entries that need to be amended. But Carter Riggs and Ingram has already been working on our fiscal year 23 information to get it ready for the audit. So hopefully by the time everything is completed with fiscal year 22, Carter Riggs and Ingram can make the necessary journal entries and changes that they need to make, and then we'll immediately roll into fiscal year 23. So be expecting that. Once the fiscal year 22 audit is completed and everything is filed with the state, I'll ask James Moore to come to the city council meeting and give a briefing on what they discovered, any concerns that they may have. Obviously, once fiscal year 23 audit is done, then we'll do the same thing there. But I just want to give everybody an idea of where we're at, and it looks like we will be making the June 30th deadline. The last thing is with the audits and everything being completed, the city received its preliminary valuation numbers from Bay County. Now that we have those numbers, we'll need to start scheduling budget workshops I need the city council, I think I mentioned this at one of the previous meetings, is to look at your calendars and let us know if you've got any vacations planned, or if you're gonna be traveling or doing anything between July 1st and September 30th. I know that there may be emergencies come up, unexpected events happen that may take you away, but if you know that you're gonna be traveling or out of town, if you can let me know so we can start working on some tentative dates for the budget workshops, then I would greatly appreciate that. And that'll be on the agenda in 2 weeks to set our first budget workshop date at some point in July.
2 months? You say July?
July 1st to September 30th. 3 months, July, August, September.
I do have a life, so I just.
We'll try not to impose on it too much. But that's all I have there.
Okay.
Oh, one other thing, Mr. Linderman asked me about a lot of projects. The one project he didn't ask about is the one we're actually making progress on, and that's the jetty project. We're expecting funding on that within the next 30 days. So that project is moving forward. Everybody at FEMA is happy that we're going to see a project, get funded finally, and that would just leave the pier and our municipal complex as the last two outstanding major projects for FEMA.
All right, good deal. City Attorney?
Yes, sir, just a couple of things. In connection with your all's decision at the last meeting to move forward with the annexation of Farmdale, and actually there's another entity involved, I'll be giving notice in the next day or so to the chairman of the county commission, which is the first step in the process. That has to be done 10 days prior to the first publication. I hope to meet with Chris and Tammy to make sure that the publication notices go out in the times, because what we're trying to do is meet 3 different time frames. One is the annexation time frame for the publications of those notices. Second would be the information notices for change of land use, because we're changing from a Bay County land use to Mexico Beach. And then the third is the development agreement notice requirements. So they're all different notice requirements, and hopefully we can hit them all at the same time so we can reduce the cost to Mexico Beach. But those ordinances I hope to have finished, if not today, tomorrow. But the first step will be giving the county commission chair the notice that you all intend to annex the property. And that will come out actually in 3 separate notices. One will be the commercial, one will be Farmdale East, and the other will be Farmdale West, based upon the size of the properties. That's all I have.
Okay. That's all? All right, that's all at the table. Motion to adjourn?
I have one more.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Just one more real quick thing. Chris, could we possibly get a monthly report from code enforcement? So, kind of like with the police report, where we know how many citations are being given out?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Somebody did.